How's it going, everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. Hope you're having a good day, and welcome to another Pokemon GO deep dive video. Today we are going to take a close look at the upcoming two legendary Pokemon coming to Pokemon GO, and they are the Sunne Pokémon Solgaleo and the Moon Pokémon Lunala. I'll be explaining which one is worth going after more than the other in this video, so let's roll the intro and get right into it. Alright, let's jump right into it. So, in the next in-game event, we are going to be getting two new legendary Pokemon added into Pokemon GO. These Pokemon are none other than the icons of Pokemon Sun and Moon, Solgaleo, and Lunala. Getting these Pokemon is going to be quite unique, as you will be getting one of them through evolving Cosmo-M. As it looks right now, you will only be able to get only one of them, so you will want to make sure you choose wisely, as the other one may not be available for a long time. Now, the discussion regarding which of these legendary Pokemon is better has been ongoing, but if you take a close look at each of them individually, there is a clear winner. Unfortunately, neither of these Pokemon have a good enough moveset to be viable in raid battles, so they will only be useful in the Master League at this time. There is a possibility that they could be better in the future, but it's all going to depend on what fast attacks Niantic decides to give them later on. Let's first take a look at Solgaleo, the Sunne Pokemon. Now on the surface, this Pokemon may look very similar to another Pokemon that is considerably popular. I'm of course talking about Metagross. In terms of the typing, weaknesses, and resistances, it is pretty much identical. Solgaleo is a Psychic and Steel type Pokemon. This means it is going to have a weakness to Dark type, Fire type, Ghost type, and Ground type attacks. It is going to be the most susceptible to Pokemon like Giratina, Groudon, and Darkrai. Now, Metagross is known for having one of the best type combinations in the game, as the number of resistances are more than what most Pokemon have. Well, since Solgaleo shares the same typing, it will have the same resistances. These include a double resistance to Poison and Psychic, and regular resistances to Dragon, Fairy, Flying, Grass, Ice, Normal, Rock, and Steel type attacks. Now when it comes to Solgaleo's stats, it is actually pretty well rounded, yet it is not as good as most other Pokemon out there, including non-legendaries. Solgaleo has a base attack stat of 255, a base defense stat of 191, and a base stamina stat of 264. These stats are decent at best. The highlight is of course the higher than usual stamina stat, and the attack stat is not too bad. I would have much preferred a little less stamina in favor of more defense and attack, but I digress. Solgaleo is still a fairly decent Pokemon based on these numbers alone. But this Pokemon could have been something substantially better than it currently is. The reason for that is of course its less than stellar move pool. Solgaleo can come with either Fire Spin or Zen Headbutt as its fast attacks, and Solar Beam, Flamethrower, Psychic Fangs, and Iron Head as its charge attacks. Currently, the best moves you can go with will be Fire Spin as its fast attack, and Psychic Fangs and Iron Head as its charge attacks. This is of course specifically for PvP, but if you are bringing Solgaleo into raid battles, just switch out Fire Spin for Zen Headbutt. Next up, let's talk about Lunala, which has a very unique type combination of Psychic and Ghost. This Pokemon has very few weaknesses, but the two types it is weak against are going to have double effectiveness. These are Dark types and Ghost types. Now in terms of resistances, Lunala unfortunately has but a fraction of the amount as Solgaleo, but again, there are more multipliers at play. Lunala is going to have triple resistance to fighting types, double resistance to normal types, and regular resistance to both poison and psychic types. This means that if you're going up against a Pokemon with fighting type attacks, Lunala is going to resist a ton of that damage, so do keep that in mind when determining how you would like to use it in battles. In terms of Lunala's stats, it is pretty much going to be the same as Solgaleo. It has a base attack stat of 255, a base defense stat of 191, and a base stamina stat of 264. Again, it would have been nice if it got just a little bit more attack and defense as opposed to all of that stamina. That would have made it much more valuable in raid battles. As of right now, Lunala's pool of moves include Confusion and Air Slash as the fast attacks, and Future Sight, Moonblast, Shadow Ball, and Psychic as its charge attacks. The ideal moveset for Lunala is going to vary tremendously, depending on what you plan to use it for. In PvP, you will want Confusion, Moonblast, and Shadow Ball, but for raid battles, you will want Confusion, Shadow Ball, and Psychic. So yeah, for both of these Pokemon, they are pretty much going to be locked in for PvP and PvP only. Even so, both of them are only going to be viable for the Open Master League. Now between the two, Solgaleo is the one that wins out. In the current Open Master League rankings, this Pokemon is currently number 6 overall. It has incredible bulk because of its stats, and the move combination of Fire Spin and Psychic Fangs will add an insane amount of pressure towards your opponents. They will have very few ways to deal with this particular Pokemon. If you are lucky enough to get a 100% IV of Solgaleo, then it would definitely be in your best interest to get all the candy and XL candy you can in order to max it out. It will give you a ton of success in the Open Master League. Now, if we were to try to find Lunala in the rankings, it would be all the way down to rank 80. It doesn't have too many wins in terms of matchups, and there's just too many downsides to using this Pokemon. Of course, this could all drastically change if Lunala gets different moves. In particular, if it were to get the fast attack Shadow Claw, then that would increase this Pokemon's rankings by a substantial amount. Nevertheless, it is pretty bad at the moment. In terms of raid battles, they are only going to be viable as Psychic type attackers, yet there are so many better options for Psychic type raid damage over either of these Pokemon. Mewtwo, Shadow Alakazam, and Shadow Metagross are going to be at a whole different level in terms of Psychic type raid attackers, so don't expect to use either of these Pokemon in raids unless your collection is missing any of the top tier Psychic types. So yeah, between Solgaleo and Lunala, I would suggest prioritizing Solgaleo. If you're watching this before either of these Pokemon get released into raids, then for sure you should pick Solgaleo when you're completing your Season of Light special research. It is definitely going to be way more useful compared to Lunala, but it will require an insane amount of resources in order for you to get there. Maybe it would be best to just wait until it is available in raids, because farming the candy and getting a 100% perfect IV is going to be much more feasible at that point. And maybe by then, Lunala will pick up Shadow Claw as its fast attack, which might make it slightly better than Solgaleo to begin with, so it probably is more worth it to wait it out. Anyway, that is going to be it for this deep dive video. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments which of these legendary Pokemon you prefer. Give the reasons why, and let's have a great discussion. And if you ended up enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, big or small, then be sure to check out the links in the description below. For all my patrons, they get a permanent spot on my in-game friends list. So if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids, then do consider becoming a patron on my Patreon. But yeah, that's going to be it. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.